Welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to share with you how I designed this monogram cutout, and she also ordered this cutout which I've designed for this upcoming homecoming season, and I have shared some of these new designs that I've come up with on this channel and my other channel. So right now I'm going to design the monogram. I'm also going to share with you how I cut them out. I'm in Silhouette Studio 5.0, and right now I'm just going through some of the fonts that I have. I do have a monogram font. I have more than one, and that's what I'm going to use. But I just want to show you there are some pretty fonts out there if you don't have a monogram font. I have made monograms in the past using other fonts, so you can make some pretty monograms with other fonts. There's some examples there of some pretty fonts, and the name right under text style is the name of the fonts. So if you see one you like, just if you'll watch that, you'll see that. But I after going through those, then I'll type in the monogram font, and sometimes I forget the name of it. It's like interlocking or something like that. And I got mine from Etsy. So I purchased it from Etsy, and I have another, like I said, I have another one. I think I got one, I have one that has little hearts at the end, and I made a pretty monogram out of that one too. And I got that one from Creative Fabrica, but then I have another one too that I got from an individual. Okay, so when I do the monograms with the monogram font, you see like the little curls, they are teeny tiny, very thin, going to be very difficult to weed if you leave it like that. So I like to offset them, make them thicker, make the letter thicker, or the initial, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to be a lot easier to cut out, because those are, I mean, even at this size it's really delicate, but if you leave it alone it's going to be very, very delicate. Now, if you're doing like HTV vinyl, it might be a little bit easier to weed. But if you're doing cardstock, you might as well do multiples, because it's going to be a pain. So what I ended up doing was, the offset that I ended up doing was 0.05, again in Silhouette Studio. If you're in Cricut Design Space or another one, if you try to use that same offset and you're like, that's too thick, it's because the offsets don't match. For some reason, I noticed that Cricut, it's a lot thicker. So you might want to start at 0.02 on Cricut Design Space and then go up from there to find the perfect, perfect width or thickness for you. And then, so her initials are M, M, and G. And I need to offset that one. And then move that over there, because I'm working with the offsets. I don't want the originals. A lot of times I'll keep the original though, especially in Cricut Design Space, so if I forget what the font I'm using, and I'll just, click the little I on Cricut Design Space so I can save it, but I don't have to see it. I haven't figured that out if you can do that in Silhouette Studio or not. Now I'm going to change the size to, I believe I changed it to 8 inches tall, just to be working with it. We're not concerned with the size that it needs to be cut out at. Right now we're just designing. And so I usually go oversized when I'm designing because I can see it better. And then I'm changing that one to 6 inches tall, just to start out as. That may not look good to you. It's different for every monogram I make. Like some of them I'm going to do bigger than that, some of them are taller than that, some of them I'm going to do shorter, just whatever I think looks good. Now this is the part I hate about making monograms, trying to get them to look good together, because you see the big gaps between the M's. That doesn't look good, so you got to bring it closer, and then you got to figure out the perfect spot. So sometimes you want the letter that's on the left and the letter that's on the right to be like in the middle of the middle letter, and sometimes you might want it down lower. Just do this however you think looks good. Don't worry about what everybody else does. I mean, you can look at others and get inspiration, but whatever you think looks good probably looks good. But trying to figure out like how close to the middle letter they need to be, and some of them I'll put like the right letter might end up being closer than the one on the left, just because every letter looks different, and I just want it to visually look good. It doesn't have to be centered up perfectly, like space between the middle and the right and the middle and the left. For me, I just look at it and what looks good visually is what I go with. And of course, I want them to interlock. I want them to touch at least in one spot, if not more than one. Just going to keep working on this until I can get it aligned how I want. You can go up and go to a line and try some different ones and see if you like any of those. But even though the computer or the program says that it's aligned, doesn't mean it looks good, because to me, like the M and the M, there's just too much space between there. And you're going to find that with different letters. So some of them, if you do align, it might look good, but on others, it may not. Now, some people are going to go further apart on the letters than I do. Some are going to go closer. It's just whatever you think looks good. I mean, to me, I'm just going by visual, what I like. And so you don't have to do it like me. You can do it if you see somebody else's you like better, design yours more like them, or just, play around with it until you see what you like. The more you do, the easier they get. That's the way it's been for me. Now I'm going to play around with the offsets and figure out which offsets I like. So I'm just going to play around with different sizes, because I do like thinner offsets on monograms. I think it looks better. And I think I said already, I'm sorry, I'm voiceovering this in sections over like a week or two, so I'm not going to remember everything I said already. But on the offsets, I used to do a solid back on these because I didn't like the flower petals like coming through the holes, and that used to be a big issue for me. I think the thicker you make the monogram, the more layers, less of an issue for that. And then also, if your flower is really full and stiff and fluffy, you don't have as much of an issue with that either. So I know last season, Mums R Us got in some 7.5 inch, their 7.5 inch flowers that they got for the season were really stiff and thick and full, and what a difference. It was really crazy. I know some of my smaller mums will have, they'll have thinner layers and they'll be kind of soft, and they just don't, it's kind of hard to attach things to them. Like the petals, like I say, the petals will go through the monogram or whatever it is design you're putting on there. And they'll just kind of like, the petals will be like floppy or something. I don't know how to describe it. So just kind of go, what looks good to you, and then what you think will be best for applying to whatever mum size you're doing. But I'm just going to keep playing around with this. And this is for a senior mum that's gold and white. So that's why the monogram is going to be gold and white. And you see those little cuts, those aren't going to look good. So I'm going to get rid of those really tiny cuts. I'm just clicking on them and pressing delete. That's simply what I'm doing. That's going to be like a line. It's going to be like a cut line, and it's just going to look weird. Some of those are iffy, and I don't know until I cut them out, if they're going to look good or bad. Moving those out of the way. You got to make sure when you highlight it that all those little pieces highlight. And then mark path, which you can also go over to the right and click on modify and do the release and the make there too. I've actually been using that more lately. It's like the rectangle with the circle over to the right, second one down, second one across, right above the star, which is where the offsets are. I'm still learning all these little things on here. There's a bunch of them I have never even used, so you want to spread any tips if you use Silhouette Studio and you've got some other tips, feel free to comment those. I'd appreciate it. Not just for me, but for anybody else watching as well. Because I'm just sharing, the more I use Silhouette Studio, I'm just sharing it, what I'm learning and stuff. I'm definitely feeling a lot more comfortable using it now. But that does not make me an expert at all. I promise you that. I don't even think that for a second. I could be using it for years and still not feel like an expert. Because you're always learning. That's the way it should be, I guess. We should always be learning. And I will tell you, if you're using Cricut Design Space and following this, your offsets in Cricut Design Space are going to be different than these offsets. I've noticed that, like if I try to use like 0.125 on here and then get the same results on Cricut or vice versa, the offsets look completely different. So just play around with them until you see what you like, because you may not like the exact same offsets that I do anyway. Like I said, I'm just going to keep playing around with them and see what I like. Because I do like a thin offset on the monograms. I think it looks much nicer. And several offsets. I'm going to do at least 3 total layers, at least. But I have an Etsy listing. I think I offer 3 layers and 4 layers, which means 3 or 4 colors. They can go up to that many colors if they want, or just 2 colors and alternate them. But I do try to make copies of some of the layers so the monogram is even thicker. And I think I ended up with 5 on this one. And what I'm showing here is I'm showing the size of the monogram, and that you have to keep in mind that all the way to the very left where I had the cursor and then all the way to the very right, that's where it's sizing you. So that M has that little curl on the side. So even though you size it, like at 5 or 6 or 6.5, whatever you're sizing it as, just keep in mind that it's measuring from that end to that end, just the very tip to the other tip. So I like to go a little bigger than what I think I need when I'm making it for one of my mums. Again, on my Etsy listing, I've got the sizes, and the sizes go with like a mum flower, so like a 5.5 or a 6.5 or whatever it is. This one was a 6.5, so for approximately 6.5 inch mum flower, or doing it on a large mum like a double, triple, quad, whatever, but you're not wanting to take up the whole mum head. So I'm showing it with a solid background. You can see the difference. And make these however you want. Whatever looks good to you, that's what you should do. Like I said, I used to do them with a solid background, and now I'm liking them better without. So you may, make them one way and then change your mind and make them a different way. You can see the little holes that it's going to have. I just like them with a smaller offset. I think they look better. Most of my other cutouts are going to have bigger offsets, but for some reason the monograms, I just think they look better with a thinner offset. Now I am duplicating some of the layers because even though it's sold as a 6.5 3-layer monogram, I like to make them thicker. Like any of my other cutouts, I like to duplicate some of the layers and try to make it thicker. I think you get a better looking cutout. Like I said, it gives it more of a 3D-ish kind of look. I don't know what other word to use for that. It just gives it more depth or something. I'm seeing how many of the whites I can fit, if I can fit it all on one mat. I actually like that Silhouette Studio doesn't place stuff on the mat for you. I like that you decide what goes on your mat and where it goes. Because on Cricut Design Space, I'm going to be moving stuff around anyway. I'm just checking my settings, make sure everything is right. And this was right after I changed to 5.0, still learning 5.0, and yeah, I'm much more comfortable with it now doing the voiceover for this than when I was actually using it back then. So it was like a month ago or so when I did this. I think it was longer than that. It may have been 2 months ago. I can't remember. But yeah, it was getting... The 5.0 took some getting used to, especially when you went to the send section. But over to the left, you make sure that everything's highlighted in red the way you want it to be. And I did have some issues with this. Not with this layer right here, but you will see it later on in the video, and I'll tell you what I did wrong. Like I said, I was still learning 5.0. I mean, I'm still learning Silhouette Studio, but for making cutouts, I'm pretty well... can do what I need to do. There's still a lot of stuff that I don't know how to do on Silhouette Studio, so it's just a constant learning experience. But I was filming on my phone as well, so you could see cutting them out, weeding them, all that good stuff as well. And that's where all my cardstock is. I'm pulling the gold out right now. I have 2 of those, which I've shown them. There's one's wired, one's plastic, to put on my 12 by 12 cardstock on. And over on the right, I have my golds. I have silver, black, white, those kind of colors. And then on the left is where I put my blues and my oranges and greens and all that stuff. That I just showed what kind of gold cardstock I'm using for this one, and that one I had purchased from Michaels. I haven't purchased any from Michaels in a while because it's not anywhere close. So if I'm happening to be shopping where I can go to Michaels, then I'll stock up on some of their cardstock. But otherwise, I'll just order it because it's easier and cheaper for me to just order it instead of driving all the way to Longview to go to Michaels, which is not close. That was just a piece of the cardboard or chipboard that was in the pack. You never know when you need something like that, so I just kept it. I have a few larger size cardstocks or poster board right there in the middle between the 2 shelves of cardstock. And then on the left, you can see me weeding those middle sections out. Really happy with how those turned out. I was really, really happy with how the monogram turned out, period. And most importantly, Miss Glenda was happy with her cutout. She loved it, so that's what's important. Now, I've said this before on Silhouette Studio when I'm making cutouts. I like to put the designs or the layers, offsets, whatever you want to call them, over to the left that need to be cut out, and when I finish cutting out a layer or a color, I move them over to the right on the screen. That just keeps me organized, so I know what I've done, what needs to be done, what I'm working on right now. So it just helps me, keeps me organized, and that's important. I think those grad caps were not highlighted. I've come across that before, like when I added a grad cap or something to a word or a name or something, and for some reason the grad cap is not highlighted, which means it's not going to cut out. And I'm going to try to get as much of the golds on here. I have so many of the gold layer because, you know, it was top and bottom. And then I was doing 2 different cutouts as well. So I'm just trying to get as much of it on one mat as possible. What am I showing there? Oh, I forgot to weld it. That would have been bad. You have to weld those designs after you group them together, because you want it to be one cohesive design. Otherwise, it would have cut where all the places where it interlocks, it would have cut all those different little lines, and it would have been a mess. So you want it to be one piece. All it takes is forgetting one step, and then you have to start over or recut or, you know, do something else. Causes you more work, and none of us like that. Make sure, you know, when you're moving stuff around on the mat, that nothing is overlapping off the side of the mat, and then also that nothing is touching each other. If you've got any designs that's touching each other, that's going to mess up when it cuts. And sometimes on this screen, I've noticed this before, it looks like everything is inside the mat, not touching, but then when you go to send, sometimes some of those designs will touch or go over the mat. I don't understand that, but I've had that happen before. So I try to really look at it when I go to send. I try to really look at the left side of the screen where the, you know, it shows the mat, and make sure that everything is where it should be. I hate wasting cardstock, so I'm trying to get as much on there as I can. Making sure I'm giving them all the designs a little bit of space so they don't overlap, but also, you know, using as much of that one piece of cardstock that I can. And I'm sorry, I have a dog trying to lick my microphone. So over to the left, you see all that's highlighted in red. That shows what's going to be cut. So make sure that everything is going to be cut that you want to be cut. And you just press send when you're ready, after you've got it loaded up and everything. And I would have already had this loaded up before pressing send. It wouldn't work. If you press send before having your mat loaded in the machine, it's not going to work. And I'm going to finish. So while that's cutting, because that can take 5 minutes or longer to cut, now I'm going to go back to weeding the white sheet. And it looks like there was see, this is what I'm talking about. It can look like everything is on the mat how you want it to be, and then after you cut it out, you can see that some little sections got cut off or something, or maybe you didn't get the cardstock on the mat exactly perfect. So I know I remember having some issues with this monogram, and it's you know, cutting out more layers or duplicates of each layer also helps because if you have a piece that messes up, you've already cut out another one, so you don't have to worry about recutting out. So I may have cut out 2 of one section, wanting to double it up, but one of them messed up. Well, I'm still good because I've got one that's good. So cutting out duplicates helps me in 2 ways. One, I have the possibility of making it thicker, and that makes me happier. See how this one messed up on the mat when it was cutting, it cuts multiple times. For some reason, the second go round did not match up to the first go round, so that was the result I got, and it's trash, so I just have to trash it. But what I was saying is, if I go ahead and cut out duplicates of some of the sections, if one messes up like that, I've already got a backup. I don't have to worry about it. If they both turn out good, then I can double it up and make it even thicker. So it's a win-win for me. That one looks great. And that one looked good too. So I had one that, turned out really well. Oh, it looks like I had cut that one out 3 times. So I had 2. No? Wait, is that matching up? I guess it is. Just had to throw away 1. I know I was having some issues when I first went over to 5.0. Like things weren't cutting out correctly and stuff, but since then I've not been having any issues. Everything's been working great now, so I don't know. Gotta scrape all that mess off the mat. This scraper works really well. I have 2 of them. I got them from Amazon. That white one, it's just like almost like a credit card looking. Some company had sent it to me with the vinyl that I'd ordered, and it doesn't work good for scraping off the mat, but it really works well for helping me weed the stuff off of the mat, the designs. All right, there's the gold. Before I cut another layer section, another piece of cardstock, I like to make sure that everything cut like it's supposed to before I move on to the next one. That way, if I have to recut the whole thing again, I don't have to go back and put them all back on the mat again. It's already there, and I can run it again with a new piece of cardstock. So just make sure everything seems to look good, and then I'll move on to the next one. And I've got a really fine point tweezers that really help me get weed some of these things off the mat, especially the stuff that's really delicate, like the top layer of a monogram. Any little pieces, any names or anything that have little pieces, I use those fine point tweezers. They really, really help. And then I use that white scraper to get the big chunks off. It really works well for that too. Like I said, it's just like a gift. It looks like a gift card or a credit card or something. Like that's the size of it and everything. So if you have like an old gift card, you can use it and have the same results, I'm sure. I should probably get some old gift cards out. I'm sure I still have some, and just use them, throw them in the craft room and use them for this. graduation cap did not cut, and I thought I highlighted it. Okay. And this starts more problems, which you'll see, but I want to show you that the graduation caps are highlighted. So I'm going to try and recut it. Alright, I want to show you what I missed. If you look on the right side of the screen, you know, I just clicked send. Oh, now I've already taken it off. But if you want to go back a little bit, look right above send. It tells you what material you're using. See, I didn't even know that, you know, after switching to 5.0. It tells you what material you're using. And for some reason, it switched to matte vinyl instead of glitter cardstock. I didn't change anything that I saw of. I don't know how it did that, and it takes me a while to figure this out. And you can see I have cutting anxiety here. I'm watching it like a hawk. And I think I cut it out 3 or 4 times. Anyway, I say, but you can watch me struggle. We all have those moments, so I'm going to share all of that with y'all. Running it through again. I didn't take the mat out. It's cutting. It didn't cut all the way through. And we're doing it a 3rd time. I tried sharpening the blade, running it through again. I put it on the number 10 blade depth, which is as big as you can go, as deep as you can go. We'll see. Alright, so here's where I'm still struggling, and I'm doing all the things just to try to figure out what I've done wrong or what's not working. So I even highlighted everything in a different color, thinking maybe that'll change something. But I did speed this up so you guys don't have to watch that. But I even changed the glitter cardstock setting because I have some that I set where it cuts deeper. But what I learned is up at the top, you see where it's highlighted in blue to the left, standard. Whatever material shows on standard, that's what it's going to cut at. It doesn't matter if you're on this screen and you pick glitter cardstock. It's going to cut whatever shows on standard. And I learned this the hard way, of course, because that's how we learn. A lot of times is just by trial and error, and that's me. You know, I was just getting used to Cello Studio, and then I upgraded to 5.0, and it was just like a whole new ball game. So hopefully those of you that have just haven't updated, or maybe just updated, hopefully you can learn from this and not have the same struggles I had. I can laugh about it now, but I was really stressing at the time because I had almost everything cut out. Just the last sheet I needed to cut out, and I was just struggling. And isn't that the way it always goes? Okay, we are on like number 5 cut, and I'm going to be showing screen recording. I've been screen recording, cutting this out on Silhouette Studio, and even though I chose glitter cardstock, down at the bottom there's like layer and then condition. I don't know what that means, but condition, it showed vinyl, matte vinyl, even though I had glitter cardstock chose. So I don't, you know, I just updated recently to Silhouette Studio, 5.0, and it's so different, and I was just learning the old one. And there's like, when you go to send, there's standard, and then there's some other options. And on standard, it had vinyl chosen, but when I was on the next one, which you'll see on the screen recording, it had glitter cardstock. So that must have been the difference. Hopefully it works this time. Okay, when I press send, you'll see that it'll come up right above where you press send. It'll show what material you're using, and it now shows glitter cardstock. So it only took 5 times to get it right, but now I know. All right, it finally cut, but let's make sure that it actually cut them correctly and didn't mess it up. And I just realized on these two copies, I cannot put them together. They overlap on both sides. Like if I try to put this one on top, the other one leaks through in certain places. If I try to put it behind the other one, it also leaks through. Like they didn't cut the same, they cut off. And what I mean is like one's cutting more this way, one's cutting more this way or something. I don't know. Like it's not just like one of them's thicker than the other one, because no matter which one I try to put on top or bottom, you can see the one behind it in certain areas. And so it's different on each one, which one you can see. So I'm not going to be able to stack two of them together. So that goes in the trash. So right now I have each layer, I have one copy that is good. So I was planning on making it really thick, but it's not going to work out that way. Now all that's promised to the customer is 3 layers. But you know, I like to add multiple layers, multiple copies of each layer, not of each layer, but at least of one layer to make it thicker and more 3D-ish. And okay, I can see that the S cut off a little bit because I didn't get the mat completely on the line. You got to be careful of that. I know that, and I still do stuff like that all the time. I use these for these really delicate things because it does help pull it off a lot easier. Off there. Oh my gosh. It tried to tear there, but it was only on the bottom, so that's not a big deal. A little bit. They're so delicate, and I'm not good with delicate. I don't have the patience for delicate. There. Okay. I think that's going to be good. I can't get it exact right now. That's one of the complex parts of making multiple copies, especially of these delicate layers, but I really like the looks of it. But trying to get them lined up before the glue dries, or trying to get it to stay. You know, you get it lined up and then trying to get it to stay before it messes up. But you can kind of get an idea there. So now it's 4 layers. See if this senior is going to be usable. I really just need the grad caps. If one of the grad caps turns out, I'm happy, because I already have like 5 layers for the senior 26. and it's only guaranteed 3 layers. I just need a grad cap. This is the only thing I didn't have. So as long as I have a good grad cap, I'm good. I can toss anything else. Yeah, that S didn't cut right, so I'm not even caring how it comes off because I'm gonna throw it away anyway. Oh. All right, that looks really good too. Looks like that's going to line up perfectly. So now it's 5 layers. Oops. 3 layer cutout, that's actually 5. And it's going to be more sturdy and it's going to give it more of a 3D look. So I'm very happy with that. They got 5 layers. That's good. You know, last year I was doing, if it was 3 layers, I was doing anywhere from 3 to 5. So, and I got 2 good grad caps. What I might do, the 26 in the other grad cap came out good. So what I might do is double up. Like I said, it's already 5 layers. 2, I think, or is it 4? Yeah. 2 of the bottom gold, 2 of the white, and then only 1 layer of the top. But again, this is a 3 layer cutout. I make the decision to add more to give it more of a 3D look and to make it a little sturdier. So I think I'll double up the 26 and the grad cap, which will make them stand out just a little bit more than the senior. And I have done that before, and it was because of something like this, and I really liked the outcome of it. But again, one of the reasons why I cut out multiples is because I do like to stack the layers because I think it looks better, but also because if something messes up, then I have more copies and it's not a big deal. I don't have to cut any more. And then I still have this much that I can save and use. And yeah, that's it for now. Now it's time to assemble the pieces. And I'm going to lay out these non-sticky sheets. That way when I'm pressing it, if the glue oozes out a little bit, it's not going to stick to whatever. I usually put books, hardcover books on top of them, and that just gives enough pressure that everything gets smushed down like it's supposed to, gets glued really well. And I like to work usually from the bottom up. I don't have any reasoning for that. I like to work with the bigger pieces first and then with the more delicate pieces at the end. So whatever works for you. There is no, you have your own reason for doing it how you do it. So just keep doing it that way. And first I'm going to glue these 2 gold pieces together, those 2 back pieces. And I am using art glitter glue. Most of y'all know that, but anybody new to my channel or new to making cutouts, that's what I use. If you go in the description of the video, I do have a link for it. Scroll all the way down to the bottom of the description, and I've got some Amazon links, and there is one for art glitter glue. It'll take you right to it. I do get a really small commission off each sale, but it doesn't cost you anything more. Make sure that you've lined them up as perfectly as you can. I checked the back side too, and you only have a limited time that you can get them lined up perfectly. I noticed that the less glue you use, you don't want to use very much glue because it'll ooze out, especially on the delicate, but the less glue you use, the quicker you need to be because it's going to dry faster. Of course, you use more glue, it's going to stay wet longer. Just common sense, I guess, but it took me a while to realize why some of them glue so quickly, where you can't move them. Then get that middle piece out. Go ahead and glue that on there. Trying to decide which one do I need. I did do a video where I showed refilling all my little bottles and stuff. I think I did that on the Homecoming Mom Beehive channel. But it could have been this one. I can't remember. It all blends together after a while. But when I buy the art glitter glue, I buy the big refill bottle. And then I buy all these little bottles from either Amazon or Temu that have, some of them have the really fine point. But the bottle I'm using right now I actually got from Dollar Tree. I think you get 2 of them in a package. So for the bigger things, that works great. You don't want to open it all the way though. I open it just enough where glue will come out. Just want to center that. Make sure your offsets are being shown. And like I said, you have a little bit of time to move it around and get it, try to get it perfectly on there as much as possible. Now be careful when you're if you're using a brayer, because it will sometimes move the design. You see, that's perfect. I'm going to throw it under this little green cutting mat just to give a little pressure on top of it, so while it's drying it doesn't curl up. Now this is not the fun part. If you cut multiples of these delicate designs, then you got to glue them together, and gluing them together is not fun. Especially when you can only use just a little bit of glue, and so it's going to dry really quickly and you're trying to glue all of that. So this is not fun. If you don't want to do multiples of the top layers like this, then don't. Don't stress yourself out about it. Now I like to glue them together and then glue them to the rest of the design. Some people will glue, like once I'm done gluing this, glue it to the rest of the monogram and then glue the next section on top and line them up that way. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I don't know if it's easier or not. For me, I like to do them like this, where I stack them, or I glue them together, make sure they're all lined up everywhere, and then glue it to the rest of the monogram. It might be easier to try it the other way. I keep meaning to try it and see if I like it better, but you get stuck and you do it one way so long, you get kind of stuck doing it that way. And usually on these delicate ones, I'll kind of do little dots all over. Sometimes I'll do like a line of glue, but usually you'll see me doing dots. I think I had glue. I got glue on that or something. I can't remember. That's why I threw that away. And these non-stick sheets, these are just my shipping label. When I print shipping labels, it's just that back piece. And they work perfectly for this, because they're super glossy. Nothing sticks to them. I tried using parchment paper when I first started making cutouts, and that didn't work. Wax paper didn't work. It still stuck. This is the only thing I found that doesn't stick at all. And I don't want them sticking to my books either when I stack them with books. So this is what I'm talking about, not the fun part where you're trying to make sure that everything is lined up. And all those little curls, oh, those are the worst. So it's up to you if you want to make multiple layers, especially of these delicate top layers. It is not fun. The reverse tweezers will help too. Sometimes it'll, like these really delicate, like those curls, those ends. Got to be careful. It can kind of squish those, so just be very careful using them. but it does help. Like I said, you get very limited time to do this, so try to do it as quickly as possible. And they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be exact. You know, if it goes over just a little bit in areas, that's okay. Just trying to put out the best product you can. Here we go. Looks good to me. Now we just have to glue it to the rest of the monogram. I found some few more little places. Trying to get it as perfect as possible. Monograms are definitely going to be the worst because of all the little curls and stuff. Now go through gluing this all over again. It's like deja vu, didn't I just glue? So you can see on this one I'm doing lines. Sometimes I do dots, sometimes I do lines. It just depends. And this glue bottle I'm using right now has a very thin, fine needle tip. So it's going to be difficult for a lot of glue to come out of that. I think I had a little spot that was kind of bubbling up. The two layers were bubbled up a little bit. Now to try to get it flipped over without messing anything up. Because you can't hold these in just one spot. They just flop all over the place. Again, try to center that up. And one of the things I like about art glitter glue is it dries clear. You might see like a little glossy look, like if the glue came, under the design a little bit. If you got too much glue or you had to move the design or something, you might see like a little glossy spot. But other than that, it's clear. It's not like a lot of other glues. It's gonna look bad. Checking all the little parts and making sure that I've got it lined up, and any glue that's oozing out, trying to get that. I have a wet wipe and I have a paper towel next to me. Those are always must when I'm doing any kind of cutouts. Here it is. I'm super pleased with all the trouble I had. It turned out beautiful, so it was worth it. And like I said, they loved it, so that's all that matters. And at 5 layers, it's nice and thick. So I would do like a 3-layer monogram. You can just think of it as like 3 colors. I would do it at least 5 layers, if not 7. So 5 to 7, 4 minimum. You know, double up that middle layer. If you just want to double up 1 layer, just double up that middle layer. At least give them 4. Now to move on to the senior, which this is one of the new designs I came up with for this season. Done several senior designs because people always want, you know, something special for their seniors. So I came up with several different senior designs. See, those back layers are always the easiest to double up on and get them even, because you don't have all those little delicate curls and such, or pieces. Now for that middle section, I did 2 of those. And I'm just looking to see if one looks better than the other one. And I had it open too much. Another reason to have a baby wipe on the table. That's another thing I usually do when I'm gluing like those delicate layers, like the top layer of the monogram. I'll usually dab it with my finger, especially where those curls were. I didn't do it for some reason with that one. Maybe I didn't feel like it had a lot of glue that needed it. But usually on those delicate ones, I'll kind of tap. And then, of course, if you have your baby wipe, you can clean your finger off really easily. Line them up, smush them together, make sure they're nice and pressed together really, really well. Alright, there it is. Now we can glue it to the next section. Like I said, I like to work from the bottom up. I don't know why, that just works for me. I decided to let that press a little bit and go ahead and glue these numbers together, and then I can swap them out while I'm building from the bottom up. The 2 grad caps and the 226s can press for a little bit. When you're working with small pieces like this, use those reverse tweezers to hold your pieces. It really, really helps. It helps when you're, if you hold it with the tweezers and while you're gluing, so you're not trying to fumble around holding it and gluing it. and then when you're putting the two pieces together, it really helps too. See, I get a little too much. Oozes out. It's fine if you just dab it off there. Now I can do the two bottom pieces while that's pressing. See, sometimes I do dots, sometimes I do lines. It really just depends on what I feel like, I think. Again, get it centered up as best you can. Now we can do the senior. See how easy that is with the reverse tweezers. Keeping that stable, not trying to hold it with your hand and move, and keeping your fingers and hand out of the way while you're trying to glue. So much easier. And then trying to put it on the other pieces, it really helps with the tweezers as well. Really happy with this cutout. This is one of my favorite senior ones I did for this upcoming season too. I was really happy with the way it turned out. I don't know if you can tell the difference doubling up the 26 and the grad cap. In person I could. I think they do stand out a little bit more. It's a little bit more depth to it. I don't know that anybody would notice if they didn't know. But I definitely like the looks of it. Super cute. And I'm so glad they liked them. I'm glad that they turned out really well. I was really happy with them. Even with the issues, what matters is they turned out great. Thank y'all so much for being here. I hope this video was helpful. Hope you learned from my mistakes. But I hope you have a wonderful homecoming season. Happy crafting, happy mom making. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and God bless y'all. Thank you so much for being here.